Jessica, thank you very much for joining Energy Live News. Just a few hours after the publication of the new Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, and as being one of the contributors of this report, what would you say as it is its key message?
The key message of the report is that climate change is absolutely caused by humans, no question, it's a fact, and also that it's already happening. So we're starting to see extreme events like droughts, floods, fires, and we can attribute these in some regions to human influence with more confidence than we could, let's say, 8 years ago in the last report.
I want to continue with a few words coming from Professor Tim Palmer at the University of Oxford. He said today, if we do not hold our emissions soon, our future climate could well become some kind of hell on Earth. Do you agree?
Well, it definitely depends on how much we emit. So, if we're able to reduce our emissions in relatively quickly, and the report emphasizes that it has to be quickly, we can limit global warming to around 1.5 degrees. But if we burn too much, then we are facing a future that is more like 2 to 4 degrees of global warming by the end of the century. Whether or not that's a hell on earth or not, it certainly could be for certain places. We've already seen here in the Western US where I live, these catastrophic wildfires that are forcing people to leave their homes. And we're not even at 1.5 degrees. So there's no question that climate change is hugely disruptive. But I also want to emphasize that there is still a lot of hope because we haven't yet locked ourselves into any single trajectory. And certainly, I remain positive that we can avoid the highest emissions trajectories, the scenarios, which the IPCC explores because we need to know the worst case scenario. But I'm optimistic that those won't happen, that we won't go down that road.
It is undeniable that human influence has warmed the Earth at an unprecedented rate over the past 2,000 years. Do you believe that climate change and its extreme impacts that we all observe today are irreversible?
Some of the things that are happening right now are irreversible, and other things can be reversed. So, as an example of the irreversible parts, that would be the ice sheets. So, the Greenland ice sheet, the Antarctic ice sheet, they're starting to melt. Ice sheets respond very slowly to climate changes. So, even if we stop emitting, the ice sheets will continue to melt for a while, and we'll still see sea level go up. So that's an example of an irreversible climate change. But in terms of things like the extreme events, droughts, heat waves, floods, those will end if we stop emitting. If we can go to net zero, then we will no longer see such extreme climate events. Those are reversible.
You helped write much of the Working Group 1 report, including the section on droughts and aridity in the water cycle chapter. Which do you think is the difference of this report in its recommendations, in its comments, in its remarks, compared to the previous reports regarding the droughts?
So, in the previous report that came out 8 years ago, scientists didn't really have enough confidence to attribute the extreme droughts that were happening at the time to humans. And that has completely shifted. Now we can attribute human influence to drought events in a couple of key regions around the world. One of them is where I live, Western North America. Another is the Mediterranean. We can also attribute human influence to some of the droughts that have occurred in South Africa, like the Cape Town Day Zero drought. So this reflects two things. First, unfortunately, climate change has gotten worse in 8 years, and we're now seeing droughts that are truly exceptional. But secondly, the science has gotten better at attributing drought events to human influence, really isolating the impact that rising greenhouse gases have on drought.
Jessica, do you think that will hot droughts become more common in more places around the world?
Yes, that's something that we expect with pretty high confidence. So just to clarify, a hot drought, obviously a drought requires low precipitation. That's how it starts. But one of the things that makes a drought worse is high temperatures. So when the atmosphere is warmer, it's thirstier. It will evaporate more water off of the land into the atmosphere, which leaves soils dry. And that means the higher the temperatures are, the greater of a chance you have of having an extreme drought for the same amount of precipitation drop. So we've already seen hot drought become a problem here where I live, for example, in California. We've seen it be a problem in the Mediterranean. And in the future, we know for sure that warmer atmosphere is thirstier. And so it's putting more pressure, evaporating water off of the land surface. And we're likely to see hot drought be a problem in many semi-arid places in the world, in addition to the Mediterranean, places like southwestern Australia and southwestern South America.
Jessica, thank you very much for your time. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.